Hi there, I'm Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story, and thanks so much for joining me for the full Persian 6-in-1 backwards and forwards today. I am going to first be showing you how to make this bracelet, and I'm going to do it in the traditional way that I've always done it. I didn't think it was a bad idea to reshoot the video for this because you know, I've gotten better since I started shooting videos, and I think it'll be easier for you to see each step of the way. But what I also did to turn this on its head is I'm going to teach you how to do this one. You can see exact same sizes. These are nice and big, easy to work with, easy to see. And I'm going to do this one backwards. Okay, so this is a soup dot technique of doing the the full Persian backwards. So this is full Persian 6-in-1, and she took it and constructed it in a whole different way. And the reason that she did that is because Sue loves to make micro mail. And I'll just show you the little piece that I've been working on. You see how tiny that is in comparison? Okay, so her technique is going to enable you to work with really tiny pieces like this, and it's going to enable you to bring down the aspect ratio that you're using. So on my website, I have a list of all the supplies you need to make all of these different kinds of full Persians. And I would say these are the standard sizes and the comfortable aspect ratios for working in full Persian. But if you want to do something like this, you can still do it. We just have to construct the weave in a little bit different way to make this really super dense piece. I'm going to show you another piece. I just wanted to try this. So this is our 10mm O-rings with a 16 gauge 1/4 inch jump rings. Now, I'm not going to tell you that this is easy because this is tight. Okay, so, you know, you're really kind of pushing through the O-rings in each row that you're doing. But you can see that the density of this is completely different than the density that we have going on here. Okay, see how you can see through the holes here? There's no holes here. You can see the metal poking through, but there's no holes. Okay, so this is a much tighter weave, and that was my whole reason for doing this, was I wanted you and me to understand all the different ways of approaching a full Persian 6-in-1 with closed rings. So I've got a bunch of different samples here. I do still only have the full Persian PDF for free on the website with this version of the bracelet, and you can download that. So please don't add the full Persian to your cart. There's no need to do that. Everything that you need is right there. There's a link back to this video, and there's also a link to the PDF that you can download and print yourself. Okay, so that's right there. And I do only have this one version, so this is the forward method. And then in the second video, I'm going to show you the backward method using these colors. So when you get to the end of the full Persian video, or if you just want to scoot ahead and you want to see the new backward method, I will do this part after I do this bracelet. So there's two totally different colors, and if you're just fast forwarding and moving the video ahead, you should be able to see when I start the new color. Okay, so I hope everybody really enjoys this project. I think it's super neat, and I think you're gonna have a great time experimenting with these. And just once again, there is a PDF out there. There are links to all of the material supplies that you need, and a list of how many of each thing you need for a particular size. So also at the end of the PDF, I have all 4 sizes that I had previously made. So this is a 15mm O-ring, a 12mm O-ring, a 10.1mm O-ring, 7.4mm O-rings, 6.6mm O-ring. I only have this one in black. Okay, but there are size charts out there telling you exactly how many you need of each of these. And I don't have anything yet for some of these heftier ARs, but perhaps later we'll add those. But I just encourage you to experiment and see what you can do with different sizes. Now that you know you can work with tighter materials, you might already have the supplies at home that you need to try that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to start a full Persian 6-in-1, I have set out 2 colors of O-rings and 2 colors of jump rings to work with. So I'm gonna call the O-rings A and B, and then I'm gonna call the jump rings C and D. And that's just, I'm just doing 2 colors so that it's easier for you to see the rows as they come together. So all these are fairly contrasting colors together. So first I'm gonna take my C jump ring, and I'm gonna pick up 2 A O-rings and 2 B O-rings, and then I'm gonna close the jump ring. Okay, and then I'm gonna take the second C jump ring and I'm just gonna pass it through all 4 of these O-rings again. Okay, so it's just, see, it's just gonna sit beside the other one. Nothing fancy yet. Okay, now I'm going to take my color A and I'm going to make sure it's to my left. I am a right-handed person, so I'm working from left to right. If you need to work in reverse, that's fine. You can do this left-handed. I do recommend, if you're going to try and do it left-handed and do everything in reverse of me, that you open your jump rings in the opposite direction, where the right prong would be forward and the left prong would be back towards you. That way, as you feed in with your left hand, the prong on your right will be away from you. So as you feed into things, it's facing in the correct direction, okay? All right, so what we're gonna do is, you can see I just have a 2 by 2 by 2 chain, 2 rubber O-rings, 2 jump rings, 2 rubber O-rings. I'm gonna take the B O-rings and I'm gonna slide them to either side of the A O-rings. So in other words, the green are going to create a sandwich around the outside of the red O-rings, okay? So can you see that happening there? Now, if I turn this to the side, which is where I need to work, I need to actually split open these pink jump rings that I just added. And when I do that, I can see down through the center of both the green and the red O-rings. So that little intersection in the middle is called an eye, and we're gonna be using that eye in our next step. So I'm gonna take my D jump rings, and take the first one, and I'm passing in between these 2 C jump rings, and I'm going down into the eye of these 4 rubber O-rings. So I'm passing through the green, and then 2 reds, and then the green. And when I come out the back side, so see how I'm passing through both these and both of these rubber rings. When I come out the back side, I'm between these 2 C jump rings as well. So I want to stay in between those. Okay, I'll pull this jump ring up, and I'm not finished. I'm not going to close yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up 2 new O-rings, and I'm going to put one on each prong of this jump ring. So one's going on the right, one's going on the left. And I want these to sit to the outside of these B O-rings that are here. So we just added A O-rings, and you can see one sits to one side, one sits to the other side. Now I can go ahead and close this jump ring. Okay, and once this is closed, I can let these fold back out so that they're part of the chain. And I'm going to add a second D jump ring. And when I do this, basically I'm passing down through that same eye. So this is the same pathway as the last one went. Going through the eye, stand between these 2 jump rings, through all 4 O-rings. And then when I come out the back side, you can see I'm in between the pink rings again. And then I'm just gonna let this also pass through these new A O-rings that I just added. Very simply. Okay, so now that's all in place. And this is what that looks like, okay? I'll let you see it from the side. So now we just need to split these two new jump rings that we just added so that we can see the eye that's down here. Now we have the red on the outside and the green on the inside, but still there's just an intersection between these 4 rings, and that's what we're going to pass down through. So I need my C jump rings now. I'm just alternating colors. You can do everything all in one color. I'm just doing this for tutorial purposes, so it'll be easier for you to see which row I'm in. Okay, so went through all 4, except for, you see I'm coming up. I didn't pass through this red one here. Okay, so I need to pull this back, and I need to get that red one in place. Okay, where I'm going to come back out of this red. So I'm staying in the middle. I passed down through the eye, came back up between the jump rings. Okay, now I'm going to pick up 2 of the B O-rings. I'm going to do the same thing. You can see one's over on this side. I can turn that around. There's a lot of different ways to do this. Whatever you're most comfortable with is just fine. I do find it easier to make sure that these sit out here before I proceed. It just makes it easier as we're moving forward. Okay, I'm going to close this jump ring. I'll let those flap forward. Okay, so you see we just have the 1 pink jump ring now. So I need a second one. I'm just going to pass down through the eye. That one went straight through and up, out, and around these 2 new O-rings that I just added, the new Dusky Sage ones that I just added into the mix. Okay. Try and get those jump rings closed as perfectly as you can. Okay, and you see, just like in the beginning, this is sitting to the outside of these 2 red, if you look at it this way. Now you know I'm starting a new row, so I'm going to split these 2 jump rings open that I just added in my previous row, and I'm going to come in with my D jump ring. And again, I have to go between these 2 jump rings here, and I'm going down through the eye that's created by the overlap of these new O-rings and the previous row. Okay, so just pass through. That went through easily, and now I'm going to add the A O-rings to the outside. Okay, so pretty simple. Once you get the hang of this, learning to go down through that eye, that's why we show you these in larger sizes and smaller sizes. If you want to start with a little bit larger size, large or medium, and then work your way down into the micro sizes, that's usually the easiest way. Or, you know, maybe you love chunky jewelry and you just start with the largest size we have, that's fine too. Okay, so I'm going through the eye, coming out. You can see I'm between these 2 pink rings, and now with this one I'm gonna let it go through the center of these new O-rings A that I just added in the previous step. Okay, so just keep going, and the only thing I want to say to you about this as you move along and create the length that you need is that we started on an A, so we want to end on a B row. So before we can make this continuous and link the start to the end of it, we want to make sure that our cadence of colors is correct. So when we get to the end of a full Persian chain, even if we're making it continuous, those are the last of the rubber O-rings that we're going to add. So you can complete that color series on the last color. So let's say, for example, you're making a rainbow. We start with red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. Okay, you would want to end on a purple row. And then all that's going to be added after that is a couple rows of jump rings. Okay, so continue on and I'll be back to show you how to finish this. So as you can see, I've gotten my bracelet to the length that I want it to be. And this is my final row. I can tell that because that has the B O-ring on it. And this is the start of my bracelet. So basically what we need to do is start by reopening these first two jump rings. These are from step 1. And I'm gonna kind of twist this around, see if I can find the openings for these jump rings. I think I'll do the one that's farther away from me first. Okay, so I need to reopen this jump ring, and I'm gonna kind of back it up a little bit because basically what we need to do is make sure that these O-rings at the end sit between these two A O-rings. Okay, so that's why I'm backing up my jump ring just to the point where, see how it's kind of in between these two red O-rings, and I can pass through the two last O-rings at that point, the two B O-rings or green O-rings, okay? And then I'm gonna come back up through my red or my A jump ring. And this A jump ring, that was the very, very beginning, very first O-ring that we picked up from step 1. Okay. And now this next one will be easier because we just need to reopen it and get it through the same things. But you can see how this is holding open this eye here. And so we can see it a lot better once we go to open the second one up. Didn't open that quite enough. Okay, so pass through those green, back in through the red, and we're all set. Okay, so now that first original row right here is now linked to the end. Okay, so as I go to make this final connection, you can see that these two rings here, they're not being split at all. Okay, so we're gonna need to pass through the eye that's in between those rings. Okay, so where the green overlaps the red. So I'm gonna go down through these rings, try and get through all 4 of the rubber O-rings, and I need to remain in between these 2 pink rings. So you see I had to back that out just a little bit and make sure that I was coming through correctly there. Okay, and then we need to pass through these red rings as well. Okay, so these would have been the new rings that we would have added on, and they're already here, so we just need to make sure to pass through both of them as we come up out of this weave. Okay. That was an ugly closure. Let me make that pretty. Okay. So now this ring is in place. And you can see it follows the pattern. It splits these and it's sitting to the outside of these. So now we just need to do this one more time. And it needs to be on the other side. If you want to, you can just flip it over. And we're going to come down through the eye, just like we've been doing. Want to get through all 4 rings. I might need to open this. On this last row, you might want to open your rings just a little bit more than you would have while you're making the piece. Just makes it a little bit easier to get down, because you see I'm kind of working around the right-hand side of this so that I can reach everything better. Okay. And now I got through all 4 of those rubber O-rings. I'm sitting in between the pink up here. I'm sitting in between the pink on the underneath side, so everything looks good. And now actually I might just feed this top of the ring in through the 2 red. So we just need to pass through these 2 red that are here. This part's easy compared to getting through that eye. Okay, and feed this in, and then we're just going to come in and close that jump ring. Okay, so it may take you a few tries to get this last part, connecting the end back to the beginning, and just making sure to keep looking at this pattern and making sure that you maintain this V here. And you can see the V happens with the O-rings too, so all of the sides of this, you know, basically look the same. You're always going to have, you know, the previous 2 colors where they form a little V. So we are going to do the full Persian in reverse. So we're doing it backwards. So I'm going to take 2 jump rings out. These are my silver. And to start this, I could really start it one of 2 ways, but I'm going to start this with 6 rubber O-rings. So this is known as full Persian 6-in-1. So 6 would make sense for starting this off. Okay, so what I want to do basically, just in order to kind of look at this as far as the way it should look eventually, I take these first 2 and then I sandwich the next 2 in between them, and then I sandwich 2 more in between these. Okay, so now if I look at this kind of from the side, I'm gonna be coming up through these 2 first ones, okay, so the purple, and I'm going to be going down through these light blue ones, and we'll also pass through these purple ones. Okay, and I'll have a jump ring on either side. So this is a far more complicated way to start this weave, but if you're really comfortable with full Persian, then you should be able to follow along. Okay, so see how I passed through the 2 purple, and now I'm starting to pass through the light blue, the Serenity blue, and then through the 2 purple and through the Serenity blue. Okay, and I'm trying to keep this in the shape that it's in. Because this starting row, you know, I'm just getting it started, but I want to make sure that my pattern kind of gets established here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up this purple one so it's more obvious that that's, so you can see this is kind of like a stair step. The outside purple and then the light blue is kind of step down underneath it, and then the pair of purples up here. Okay, so now I'm going to go through on the other side. So this is now on my left. I flipped it over, and I'm going to come up through the 2 purple, through the two blue, but really through one blue, the two purple, and then the other blue. Okay, so through row 2 and row 3. Okay, and this is not going to be perfect at this point. We're going to have to situate it until we get that second row started. It's all just a big mess right now. So I'm going to pull these purples out back to the outside. Okay, so I get my little kind of stair step again. So see how these purple are outside of the light blue, and then this purple is on the inside. Okay, and just to kind of show you these will be at a point. So when I start the next row, this will kind of force these in. So let me grab my second color. This is a seafoam green. I hope you can tell the difference in the video when I use this. So basically what I want to do, and of course I just lost my whole configuration here. Okay, so what I want to do is look at this from the side now. So now the light blue is going to be the first row that I work with. The purple is going to be the second row. So we're going to pass through there as well. And then we're going to need to add a third row of the light blue back in. But we're not going to add that third row until I come up through the first purple. And then we'll kind of tuck those in as we pass through them. And then we'll go through this purple and this light blue again. Okay, so let me show you how that's going to work. So I'm passing through on the outside. I'll pass through both of the light blue. Okay, and then I'm going to come up around this first light blue and then into the center of a purple. Okay, and this is where I can split this center row. So you can see the light blue is my first row. I pass through both of those on the outside, and then I pass up between the light blue and the purple, and I'm going to add a new row of light blue in here. Okay, and then back through that purple again. Now you could be doing this with any color. I'm just telling you, you know, the colors that I'm using, so hopefully you can see where I'm pointing to. Okay, so that's this side, and you can see that it's starting to create these V's, which is our full Persian shape. Okay, so I'm gonna flip it over to the other side. Now, just like before, it's gonna be a little bit easier because we don't have to add the row. I'm gonna pass through the light blue first, then I'm staying inside the purple. I'm going through the light blue that's on the end now, and then through the purple. Okay, so that's the second jump ring of this second row. And you can see now that everything is holding in place, it's getting established. We've got our first jump ring row that's displaying a V, and we've got two O-ring rows that are showing you that V shape that we're looking for with the full Persian. Okay, so let's do another. And if you ever lose your place, just remember how you're adding these center rows in as you go. So you know the ones where you have a pair of O-rings that are sitting side by side, that's always your working row. These are just kind of dangling on the end here. That's fine for now. But that is that's what your beginning looks like, and this is what your working side is going to look like. So we're going in reverse of how I would normally make this. Okay, so now last time we passed through the blue. This time we're going to pass through the purple as our first row. The Serenity blue is our second row, so I'm going to pass through just one of these. I'm going to pick up two new purple O-rings. I'm going to pass through the second Serenity blue, and I'm going to close. So now this gets easy. Once we get it established, get that first row going, this actually becomes very simple to do. However, the whole reason we're doing this is so that we can bring the aspect ratio down. Okay, I'm going through the two purples again on the outside, through the blue, through both purples, and through the Serenity blue. Okay, so the reason we're doing this is so that we can bring the aspect ratio down and make this weave super, super, super tight. Okay, so while I'm doing this in very comfortable sizes where you can see through everything right now, we're learning this so that we can do very low aspect ratios and make this a really, really dense piece of work. And that's why you would want to use this version of it. So I'm going to do one more row here just to show you. Okay, I'm going to pass through the blue again. I'm going to pass through one purple, pick up two blues. Those are the ones that get sandwiched in between. Pass through the next purple and close. And I'm on the seafoam green. Okay, so, and if you forget where you're at, just look, I know I passed through a blue here on this side, so I'll flip it over for myself. I'm gonna pass through the two blue, purple, the two new blues that I just added, and the purple, and close. Okay, so this is, like I said, I'm working with very large sizes here. This is going to move on just as quickly as it would if I was doing it in the original way that I learned to do full Persian. But as I said, we're doing this, we're learning it this way so that we can do a very, very dense form of this. And so just keep going, keep practicing, and I would definitely advise you to do a couple full Persians this way in normal sizes, and then you can try doing some super dense or super micro sizes and see how that will work for you. So I'll be back in a minute to show you how to connect this. Once we get the length done, we're going to connect the end back to the beginning again and make this continuous all the way around. Okay, so you can see now that I have finished up the length of this chain and I'm ready to hook it together. I can tell this is my end point because I've got the pair of O-rings that are sitting side by side there, and this is my starting point. So I'm just going to show you that basically as we work through this, okay, and we continue as we have, we're just basically going to use this starting row of purple and squeeze it in between there. So see how we'll get our little V's if we do that. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me get it in the center of them, okay? So you can see that's where we're going. So I ended on the last row I did was with the seafoam green and the blue. And now this would be where I would be adding a purple row. And of course we've got purple on the end here. So that's exactly what we need. So I'm gonna pass through the purple here and through one of the blue. And now I'm gonna bring my start, here, let me do it this way. Be easier for you to see and easier for me to do. Okay, so I brought my start up and I hooked the two purple through. Now I'm going to pass through the other side of the blue and I'm going to close. Okay, so we've got this one side all hooked up. Now I need to do the opposite side here. So I'll kind of look at it this way. Okay, I can see the one I just added right here. So I'm gonna pass through the purple, through the blue, and then both of these purple that came from the beginning row, and then the blue. Okay, so this is easy enough to connect the start to the end. But we're going to need a second row in order to make the whole thing continuous. Okay, so right now you can see we're looking at it all, and you know, we're obviously still missing one that needs to go through from here and then up through here. And then when it comes up through here, I just want to point out that this has got to split these two rings. So ultimately it's going to be passing through the eye, or the intersection between these purple and blue rings. Okay, so if we split these jump rings in half, you can see there's a hole right down in here, and that's where we need to get through. So I'm going to start this row. Okay, and I know I just passed through a purple. I've got a green. I'm looking for, you can see I've got silver here and silver here. The green's going in between. Okay, and when I'm on the green row, I was using blue O-rings. That's when I was passing through the blue O-rings. So I need to pass through on the outside there. And then, as I said, we need to come up through the eye that's between these two jump rings, and see how it split that open, and you can see the prong coming up through that eye that's in between. So really this is getting inserted at a diagonal. And if you're having trouble with this, you can do this in reverse too. So like, for example, now I have this one in place, and I'll kind of show you me doing it in the reverse, because I could have done it this way. Let me open this just a little bit more. Okay, so instead of coming through these blue out here first and then going through the center, another approach would be to go through the center first. Okay, and see how I went through the eye between all four of those rings, and then come out here to the blue on the outside. So whichever way you need to do it is just fine. If you're working your Persian this way, then I'm very much hoping that you've done even several full Persians in the other way, in the original method, and are very familiar with this pattern, because that's basically what it takes. In order to approach something in different ways, you just need a certain familiarity with the weave, and then you'll be able to go at it more comfortably, and you know, make adjustments and do things different ways. And you'll also be able to really push your sizes. So, you know, I'll just show you these again, that this was my 10mm O-rings with 16 gauge and 1/4 inch jump rings, very, very dense weave. And then this is the one we're most excited about. This is the 5.3mm O-rings with 20 gauge 1/8 inch jump rings. And you see how tiny this is, and you actually can even see the metal showing through on the sides because this is so tight. But this can be a very dense weave, and you won't be restricted on the aspect ratio when you learn to do this backboard. So you can really push the limits of what you're capable of doing in half Persian. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you got a lot out of this lesson. I always find Sue Padot's techniques to be really innovative, and she always approaches things in a fresh new way. And I really thought this was one that you would enjoy seeing, so that you could get a better feel for full Persian and be able to try it in a lot of different sizes. So thanks so much for joining me today, and I will see you next time.